Hello gamers, this is Captain Olimar here, reporting to you live from PNF 404. So, Pikmin 3 Deluxe has been announced for the Switch lately, and I'm exactly a month late with all my gripes. Pikmin 3 is probably my favourite title from the Wii U, besides maybe Rayman Legends. So I've got no real issue with them choosing to port over Pikmin 3 to the Switch. It's just, why no Pikmin 4? Come on. However, instead of bitching about it and telling Nintendo to get their act together, I've decided to invest my energy in something a little bit more creative. I have designed an entirely new type of Pikmin. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Orange Pikmin. Yeah, he should be stood in my hands right now. Ooh. Okay, so here we go. So I've done a little bit of doodling in Photoshop, and here's what I've come up with. The almighty Orange Pikmin. Basically, the general idea behind the Orange Pikmin would be that he is a nectar provider for other Pikmin. So, the Orange Pikmin itself has its own little life cycle. It grows. It's like a living life form. It actually changes throughout game time. It starts off in stage 1 as its smallest variant. Basically, this is where the Orange Pikmin is the same size as a White Pikmin. Therefore, they're very weak, but they're also very fast. They can't carry much, but they're useful for just transporting small stuff like, berries, grapes, chunks of gold, all the good stuff in Pikmin 3. And then, over time, they will slowly grow to the size of a regular Pikmin. Here, variant number 2, where they will pretty much be the same as blue Pikmin, normal damage, normal throw distance, normal carrying capacity, normal speed. They just won't have the resistance to water, obviously. That's where blue Pikmin shine. And then, after a bit more time, they will grow into version number 3. This version will kind of be like the midpoint between a normal Pikmin and a purple Pikmin. Like, not as big and chunky as a purple Pikmin, but not as just regular as a normal Pikmin. So, it will be stronger, but it will also be slower, and it will also be able to carry more. The way I see it is, so the tiny Orange Pikmin will be able to carry 1. The normal Orange Pikmin will be able to carry 1. And the third Orange Pikmin, I'd say 3, maybe 2, I don't know. So their carrying capacity will slowly increase with size. And then finally, we get probably my favourite drawing I've done on this entire panel. The 4th iteration of the Orange Pikmin's life cycle. And this version, as you can tell, is very big. Is going to be bigger than a purple Pikmin and stronger as well, I would say. Maybe have a carrying capacity of 12? We want to make it like the new, most oversized, super strong Pikmin. And they'll also be the slowest, because look at him, he's pretty freaking chubby. He's got tiny stubby legs and a lot to carry around. He's a hefty boy. That's pretty much it. This is the growth cycle. And you can tell which stage the Pikmin is at by looking at the amount of notches they have on their stomach. So you'll notice the first one is just, it's got its single torso, and then the second one has got a little bit of a nodule. It kind of looks like it's got a pair of tits, of course. And then so on. The third one has 3 nodules. You can't really see it, but you can see it at its back there. And the 4th one has 4 nodules. It kind of looks like a honey dripper. you know, the end of one of those honey drizzling sticks that you use to put syrup on your waffles. That is the overall growth cycle. So as I've written here, Orange Pikmin are a new variant of the species who are characterized by their ability to slowly grow over time. When growing, they have 4 stages of size. The more the Orange Pikmin grows, the slower they get, but in return, their attack power and carrying capacity rises. That's it in a nutshell. I don't know why I drew it with a blue Pikmin pod either. I just thought orange and blue contrast each other nicely. So the next thing I want to talk about is what happens when the Orange Pikmin reaches its full size. So it will stay in its big form for a short while, but after a little bit of time you'll get like an alert. Like a little exclamation mark will appear over the Orange Pikmin. And it will basically give you one of 2 options. The Orange Pikmin gets bigger because inside of its body it generates nectar. That's the theory I'm going with here. Just because it kind of makes sense. But slowly over time, more nectar will get stored up in their body. They can use this nectar for one of 2 purposes. The first one, as this image implies, causes the Orange Pikmin to shrink back down to its tiniest form, back to form number 1, and it will release 2 big droplets of nectar, which will feed approximately 5 other Pikmin each. They can't drink their own nectar because it would be like drinking your own blood. It would just freak them out. That's the whole point of the Orange Pikmin. It'd be like cannibalism to them. It just wouldn't feel right. But yeah, they're basically blood donors, if you will. The blood donors of the Pikmin world. The second option you have is that the Orange Pikmin can bury itself underground in its giant form and transform into an orange onion. Inside this onion you will find 2 more Orange Pikmin, and after a short while the onion will pop out 2 new Orange Pikmin saplings, as seen by the image here. And when you pluck them out, they will both be tiny new Pikmin. So you can either choose to power up your squad with option 1, or increase the size of your squad with option 2. So yeah, I've written more about this in the paragraph. After reaching their largest size, the Orange Pikmin will be able to do one of 2 things. Their first option is to release 2 piles of nectar, which other Pikmin can use for a strength boost. Their second option is to burrow into the ground to form a small onion pod, which will immediately create 2 brand new Orange Pikmin. I've shown this idea to a couple of friends, and the first thing that everyone said is they look like carrots. So yeah, that's the kind of shit I'm dealing with here, folks. I'm pretty happy with this overall design. I think the colour of orange also fits this quite well. There are a couple of colours that you could use. Another one that I see thrown around a lot is aqua blue or aquamarine. Again, I thought orange would suit this type of Pikmin best. So yeah, leave any constructive criticism in the comments and have a good day. See ya.